It's all football is a game about dominating the trenches more than anything.
On today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis and the OCP team of correspondents preview the Big 12 in advance of the 2022 college football season. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. My tag team partner, Coach Mike Franchise Francis, is on assignment, but man, do we have a stellar crew to help us go through the Big 12. So today on our Throwdown Thursday edition, it is our Big 12 preseason preview. And joining me today is my former player, Akil Russell, who's also a football coach extraordinaire. Akil, how you doing this morning, sir?
I'm well, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is great. And the newest member of the CKA family, we are so happy to have him, Merv Jones. Merv, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks again for having me on for a second week. This is so much fun.
All right. So we're going to review the Big 12 Conference. I'm going to just read some bullet points and let my correspondents chime in if they choose to do so, following the coach franchise method of involvement. So I'm going to tell you the team, their projected win total, whether or not I think they're bowl eligible. And if you want to chime in, great. And if we want to move on, that's fine too. Let's jump into it. Baylor, projected 8 wins, should be bowl eligible. Anybody got any thoughts on Baylor?
I'm just looking at the last year overall. They were 2-7. Where are we getting 8-9 wins from? What's going on?
Okay, again, I just base it off of media reports.
I got you. Under, I guess. I don't know. Because the other two, Oklahoma and
we ain't even got there yet. Do you think Baylor
with the original 12 right here that I'm looking at?
Well, they say Baylor should be bowl eligible.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Iowa State projected 6.5 wins and should be bowl eligible. Anybody got any thoughts on Iowa State?
I like Iowa State. I saw them play 2 or 3 times last year. I know that back isn't there anymore, but they're coached very well. I like watching them. I think they're a good football team. Great program.
The good thing about Iowa is that they produce offensive linemen, whether it be Iowa State or the University of Iowa. So once you have a solid offensive line, you can pretty much do anything you want. It's all football is a game about dominating the trenches more than anything.
Okay. Well, speaking about not dominating the trenches, we got Kansas and a projected 2.5 win total, and we don't project Kansas to be bowl eligible. Any thoughts on Kansas?
Not bowl eligible.
Absolutely not. They might be eligible for the Rite Aid Bowl.
Okay.
The toilet bowl.
Stop that. Kansas State, 6.5 wins and should be bowl eligible. What do you think about Kansas State, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, you can win 5 games and make a bowl, right? So that's about accurate. 6 or 5 wins, somewhere in there.
All right, we're going to pause. Unless you had something about K-State. Shout out to Dr. Lisa Rubin, of course.
I agree. They seem to always but they always seem to get into a few games late and make it real interesting. So they always keep their name in the hat for a bowl.
Okay, so now we're going to pause because I think you might have something to say. Oklahoma, who will soon be in the SEC, is projected to win 9.5 games, and they are projected to be Big Bowl eligible. Any thoughts on the Sooners and all of the changes that have taken place?
I think it's going to take at least a season or two to get acclimated with, new staff, new system. I don't even know who their quarterback is. I'm gonna say no. I don't think they'll big bowl. Big bowl. We're talking about top four.
Big bowl, yes, big bowl.
No, I don't.
Ones you've heard of.
I don't project them to be the top four in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, I concur. It's one of those things where they had a lot of athletes going to the transfer portal after their coach had left, and you don't know what they have left that can sustain that kind of reputation. So I feel like this prediction is based off of name alone. This is Oklahoma.
Okay. Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. He's not my favorite coach, by the way. So if you listen to the show, I might say he's over 40 now. They got them projected at 9 wins and should be bowl eligible. What are you thinking, if anything, about Oklahoma State?
I would say out of the Big 12, between them and Iowa State, will be closer to that 9-10 win margin. So I would say that's about accurate for Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at their offensive and defensive rankings. They're ranked 79th in the offense, 35th in defense. I'm just like, no, I don't see it.
All right, we're going to pause at Texas because they're going to be a part of the SEC soon. They are projected to win 9 even and should be bowl eligible. Any thoughts on Texas?
They got Peyton Manning's nephew.
Yeah, but that's not until next season. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I thought he was a senior this year, but no, I just don't see it for Texas. I feel like they're kind of like Oklahoma in name alone.
All right. TCU, 6.5 wins, should be bowl eligible. Any thoughts on TCU as we begin to close out the Big 12? Nothing, and that's okay. Texas Tech projected to be 5 wins, and they hope to get in one of those last tier bowls. Anything about the Red Raiders?
Nah, nothing. Listen.
And finally, Morgantown's finest, West Virginia. They know how to get it in Morgantown. They are projected to win 5.5 games, and they hope to be bowl eligible. Any thoughts on the friends in Morgantown from any of you?
Well, shout out to my boy Caden Prather. He's from the area, wide receiver number 3. Yeah, I think they can win 5 games. They were 6-4 last season. Hey, I think they can do that. They can accomplish that goal. Yes.
Bowl eligible. All right. So fans, we'll have some Q&A about some specific issues in the second segment with the Big 12, but we'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast, segment 2. We're going to have a structured debate on the Big 12, okay? So Merv and I are going to go back and forth a little bit as our guest. So Merv, even with the addition of the new teams, real talk, is this the end of the Big 12?
I believe so. Like, everybody's slowly migrating either to the SEC, Big Ten, and it's a foregone conclusion. Saban said this best where he said, and I'm paraphrasing, is this is going to be a thing of super conferences, and that's going to be what we're based upon. So it's going to be almost like a East and the West, kind of like with the NBA.
Mhm.
And it's just going to be like, all right, this is going to make the bowl system look a little bit easier. This is going to look a playoff picture, make it a little bit easier, and just put everybody, stack them against each other and go that route.
Man, I'm paused because they did add some teams. They added Cincinnati. They added UCF. Heck, I think they added BYU off the top of my head. So I don't think it's the end of the Big 12. I think it's the end of the Big 12 being relevant because they do have teams. And the funny thing is, Mike and I talk about it on the show. My favorite format for college football playoffs is to have league championships, league champions, whoever won their league, however they did it, and 3 at large. Because when the bowl situations take place, most of the teams are not in school. So I always tell people, stop telling me about games when from December 15th to January 30th, nobody's in class. So stop it, unless you're taking J-turn. The SEC and the Big Ten, they have money. I thought everyone else was kind of in their boo-boo face about the SEC when they had their last meetings. And then the Big Ten woke up and looked around and said, man, I'm going to try to do something to stay relevant. So leads us to our second question. How does the Big 12, in your opinion, stay relevant during this changing time? Because times are changing, but you still want to stay relevant. So what would you think, sir?
They have to have their top 3 teams beat up on Alabama and Auburn and Ohio State. Like not necessarily beat them in the playoff, but beat them in the regular season, get in there and try and, take them out, or at least make it competitive to make everybody question Nick Saban and what they're doing over there now. Like, you have to make yourselves competitive. You have to blow out everybody in your conference. And then when you step over to any SEC competition or Big Ten competition, you have to punch them in the mouth. You have to make sure that your conference is known as the one that's going to fight, and not just one that's been historic and has been around for however many decades.
Well, as an amateur gambler, strictly for entertainment purposes only, Big 12 don't play no defense. So right there, your Jimmys and Joes against the SEC Jimmy and Joes, every time we see them play, tends to be a bad outcome for the Big 12.
Absolutely.
And when you have Texas losing to Kansas, I don't care what year this is, Texas can't lose to Kansas. And now Texas is going to go to the SEC and Kansas State. Well, this ain't basketball. So will the teams they bring in do something to keep people interested? Well, I don't know if Cincy can have the sustainability long term to keep getting those kind of players.
No.
Because that's a one in a decade type situation that they had last year. I love UCF. I love the money they put in. I love all the things that they're doing down there. It's a sustainability kind of thing. So can you sustain that? BYU's got the loot, got the money, got the this, got the that. But what do they do to stay relevant? In my opinion, similar to what you said, you got to win when you play other people. And you have to win impressively. And I just don't know if they have the horses to do that, which leads us to our last question for this segment. Merv, would you try to merge with the ACC or the Pac-12? Would you try to do it, or would you tend to just kind of see what you could do for yourself? What would you do?
Logistically, I would go with the ACC. They have their scheduling when it comes to games, primetime games, they get more than the Pac-10 just because they're on the West Coast. And then you still have, North Carolina. Those are big names, but they don't play well football. You have Virginia Tech, who's historically been good, and they're in the mix always when it comes into playoffs time. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be like top dog, but they're always in a decent bowl. So if I had to choose between one of the two, I would definitely go ACC.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I would do, and I'm probably in the minority. I still want to be the Big 12. I had a chance at a conference with the Knight Commission to meet Bob Bowlesby before he resigned or retired or what have you, and they have money, they have resources. Maybe not as much with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, but I would ask some teams in the ACC if they were interested in coming. I'd call Virginia Tech because it's not like Virginia Tech had moved the conference before, twice, three times. I'd call Pitt. I'd call them because you've got a natural partner. Now, again, Pitt will more likely than not try to do something with the Big Ten, but if I could poke off a couple of schools like that, I'd call Colorado. I'd call them. I'd call Arizona State because you're always second tier in Arizona. I don't care what you do. You're not Arizona. You're Arizona State. Well, for us, you would be the team of Arizona. I'd call San Diego State. They're not, before the Pac-12 can get them, call San Diego State. So now I'm across the country too. So I might not get the nicest folks in the world or the Texases or the Oklahomas, but I'm relevant. I got a nice TV deal and I'm across the country. And that's kind of what I would do because I still want to be a conference. I don't know what the Pac-12 can do. We talked about them a little bit last week, and we'll get to the ACC in a couple of weeks. But if I'm the Big 12, that's kind of what I would do, man. So with that,
I like that approach for sure. It's definitely outside the box. I wouldn't say it was wrong. It's just one of those things where it seems like TV for the nighttime games, the primetime games, they tend to lean on the East Coast schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my mind goes. And it's just like, okay, if I want to go somewhere where I'm going to be on TV Saturday night, people are at bars or at home with family, and I'm going to have their full attention, Saturday night, 8:00 game during the fall, I'm thinking just the ACC. But I do like your thinking on that.
Hey, look, nobody's beating down Oregon State's door. So if I say something nice to Oregon State, if I say something to Washington State, no one's going to Pullman, Washington. So now I can get the second tier and, but hey, that's why we have a show. And with that, in our last segment, we'll just talk bowls, man. We'll talk bowls and where do we think people in the Big 12 should go in terms of bowls. And we'll be right back on the Eye Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler and Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 3, strictly for entertainment purposes only, we will do our postseason predictions. So in terms of the Big 12 Bowl tie-ins, the Big 12 champion will automatically go to the Sugar Bowl if not selected for the college football playoff. So Merv is going to tell us which bowls teams will anticipate going to. And remember, fans, if the top Big 12 team is in the CFP, The highest ranked available team is in the Sugar Bowl, and all bowls are done strictly to get as many butts in the seats. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to start with the lower level bowls. The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. The Big 12 will go against either an ACC team, an American team, or a Pac-12 team. Merv, who you got in the First Responder Bowl?
In the First Responder Bowl, if we're going ACC and American
We're just trying to find a compelling matchup. Which Big 12 team that can barely make a bowl do you think would be a good fit for the First Responder Bowl?
I would put Baylor and North Carolina.
All right. Well, you don't have to worry about the ACC team.
Oh, yeah,
just worry about the
Baylor.
Big 12 one. Baylor. Okay. All right. In the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, this Big 12 team will play the American, Conference USA, or Pac-12. So this is a team barely bowl eligible playing those teams. Who do you have, sir?
West Virginia.
All right. That's works for me. All right, so now we're going to the second tier bowls, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl versus the Big Ten team. Who do you think would be in a Guaranteed Rate Bowl versus the Big Ten?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Oh, well, I hope he's not in there. He's making some good money, so we hope he doesn't make that one. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl versus the SEC. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Oklahoma.
Now, again, Oklahoma is projected to be 9 wins. They better not be in nobody's Liberty Bowl.
All right. They better not, but let's say Kansas then.
Kansas is projected to win 2.5 games, maybe Kansas State. Got to win at least 5. So Kansas State will be a good fit there possibly. All right, the Macari Texas Bowl versus the SEC. Who do you think would be a good fit there?
Let's put TCU there. I don't think
that would be good. Yes. Yeah. Texas team, maybe draw some fans. SEC, all right. The Cheez-It Bowl. So now you've got a better Big 12 team going against the ACC. Who are you trying to showcase as a conference to get a win against the big boys, so to speak?
I would put possibly Oklahoma.
Again, if Brett Venables in his first year is playing in the Cheez-It Bowl, Brett won't be there very long. So let's go to the Valero Alamo Bowl versus the Pac-12. Who would you have there?
Oh, for the Alamo Bowl, that's a big bowl game. That's been around for a month. It's not top tier, but it's up there. I would put Iowa State.
Iowa State in the Alamo Bowl against the Pac-12 team. And now the Sugar Bowl, the highest ranked Big 12 team. If not the Big 12 champion, who would you have there?
I know I already said Oklahoma. Kansas State could be leaking in, but you know what? I'm going to go with Kansas. I'm going to roll a dice on that one.
Well, it better be Kansas State because Kansas projects to win 2.5 games. And I'm looking, you didn't put Texas in a bowl.
No, I don't put them in a bowl. It's just they've lost so much and everybody's so dependent upon Arch Manning and he's going to be the savior.
But they should be bowl eligible, shouldn't they, in theory?
I would put my $10 on them not being in it.
Wow. Okay. Well, hey, man, that's why we do it. So fans of the Big 12, we have now covered you. Share your thoughts on social media. So on behalf of, we want to thank Merv Jones for hanging out with us. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.